Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hi, everybody. It's Gigi. What's good, Fruit Loop?
Muscle rub.
Oh, man. We've been moving Fruit Loop into her new digs, and we old. We getting old.
You clean and clean and clean.
Oh, yeah. If I have my AirPods in and I'm listening to some good music, I can clean for days.
Yeah, we were like, she's in a zone.
I sweated in places I never knew I could sweat.
Yeah, it's so hot. It's hot down here, and we can't get the power on until tomorrow. So
yeah. So, and you guys are going to be hearing this about Wednesday or Thursday. It's actually Sunday night.
Oh, I forget when I say that.
So we're really sweaty, and well, I'm not anymore. I took a shower, but it's just been a day. The heat and moving all this stuff and cleaning. We're tired, but Fruit Loop's got a crazy busy week with this play starting on Thursday, and we knew we wouldn't get one in, so we're just taping this tonight for later in the week. So we're going to jump right in to this Murdaugh stuff. This is part 2. Remember, we told you guys that this is a lot of he said, she said. This is where they're talking to people who knew Stephen and getting some information. So the one thing that they looked for on Stephen's clothes when they got them is some trace evidence. And some items had some small paint chips on them. They found 10 1mm single layer paint chips. They were unable to identify where it came from, and the possibilities were an industrial tool, a dumpster, or a signpost. A Toyota used this paint on their vehicles from 1982 to 1988. They did say the samples are suitable for comparison should a standard become available. So I never heard anything else about that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it was from a car either. They gave a lot. If he leaned up against a dumpster or a sign.
Oh, yeah. You don't realize what you pick up during the day.
Yeah. I know. Have you ever seen where they put preschoolers and do the hand on the Petri dishes and grow it overnight? And it's just like...
I had to do that one time. I was working in a nursing home, and it was one of the things they was showing you how you need to wash your hands.
Oh, it's gross. And some of the things have like fur coming out of them and stuff.
Yeah. Nasty.
Yep.
So, August 3rd, 2015, South Carolina Highway Patrol Corporal Duncan gets Stephen's iPhone and has Stephen's mom, Sandy, help to try and unlock it since she was the second fingerprint on the phone. He arranges to meet her the next day to try and unlock the phone.
So August 4th, 2015, when Corporal Duncan from the Highway Patrol picks up the phone, he noted there was no chain of custody with the phone, even though a SLED report said Duncan signed a chain of custody form on this day and transferred the phone with Connolly of the South Carolina Highway Patrol. And it looks like they transferred that on I-95, which is a big interstate that runs through the low country of South Carolina.
Yeah,
I think it goes from like Miami to New York. It's a
pretty long road, I think.
I think it's like the number one road for drug transport in the country.
Yeah, I think so. And there's nothing on it. It's like straight, nothing on it.
Yep. South of the border's on it, right?
Oh,
that place going down the beach? Yeah. So South Carolina Highway Patrol officer meets Sandy to try the fingerprint, and she's unable to unlock the phone, which is kind of weird. I mean, maybe Stephen took her off if he's being a little secretive lately, like she had said, and he was coming home kind of late and skipping school, or there's no chain of custody of that phone. Kind of makes me wonder if somebody didn't go in that phone at some point and take stuff off. I don't know.
Yep.
So Corporal Duncan talks to one of Stephen's friends who tells him that she had talked to Stephen around 7 or 8 o'clock the night he died. They talked about school, nothing about what he was doing or where he was. She said that he was likable and she couldn't think of anybody who would want to hurt him. And she said she heard his death was a hit and run and that it wasn't, but didn't hear any other rumors of what happened. So just kind of that back and forth.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So August 5th, 2015, Duncan meets Lance Corporal Conley, who gives him Stephen's iPad. Duncan interviews Corporal David Rowell.
It's late. We're tired.
It's late. Who says there's no indication a vehicle was involved.
Yeah, I mean, you have a few of these guys that just are saying, this ain't what went down.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you can tell when it's a car hit and other things.
I mean, you got them looking at entry wounds.
Yeah. Yep. So South Carolina HP puts up a billboard on the road Stephen was found on asking for tips.
So we're going to jump 2 days ahead to August 7th, 2015. Duncan was contacted by a relative of Stevens who was approached at church by a friend of Stevens, who they call Brittany in the report to hide her real name. She said she had information about Stevens' death, and she tells them a friend had texted her asking if Steven and Buster were an item, and she told the person not that she knew of, and the person said he had heard that Steven and Buster were an item. He didn't say who he heard it from. He said he just didn't know, but he had just heard it, which, boy, word gets around in a small town.
I know, right?
Duncan asked if she had ever heard of them being an item herself, and she said she had not. This was the first time she had heard it. And she knew that Steven was gay, and she said he asked if anything weird happened at the wake or the funeral, and she said no, everything seemed to go fine.
So August 10th, 2015, Duncan contacts the person who texts the friend about Paul and Buster and leaves a message. The boy's father calls Duncan and wants to know what's going on and says his son will call him later.
So the next day, the boy calls Duncan back. He admits sending the text to Steven's friend asking if Steven and Buster were an item. He knows Steven personally, and he confirms he heard that Buster and Steven were an item, but he didn't know if it was true, and that was the only thing he had heard in relation to Steven's death. So Fitz News, this is what's interesting. They did a background check on this boy, and they found that he was facing 2 different lawsuits from the Murdaugh law firm, from two accident lawsuits in late July 2015. The lawsuits were dismissed in 2016. So Duncan continues to look through Steven's iPad, but he doesn't find anything to establish any kind of a timeline for that night. No new information found in there. The only thing they could confirm is that the iPad was at the Orangeburg Technical College on the night he died, the same way they did with the phone. And the rape kit that they did ended up missing. The chain of custody report says that investigator Proctor transferred it to someone else on August 11th, and it's never mentioned again after that date.
That's suspicious.
That's weird. Sorry. My kids do this all the time, and it's becoming a habit with me and Fruit Loop now. They're bad influences on us.
Yep. So August 17th through the 18th, Duncan calls a guy who says he is Steven's boyfriend and leaves messages. That's a lot of...
Yeah. People don't want to talk, I guess. You know, it's probably scary because you have these people who know the Murdaugh family and know the pull they have, and the last thing you want to do is have your name as somebody telling dirty secrets about them.
Yep.
So August 26th, Duncan tries to call the boyfriend again, leaves a voicemail. Duncan talks to Steven's mom, who gives him the number of someone who may know something about the murder, and they call him Ben. He leaves a message. He then calls someone else who Sandy says may know something. Says in the report the phone rang 4 times, and he doesn't leave a voicemail, and he never calls this person back. So a relative of Steven said a man told her that a green Jeep was following Steven the day he died, and there's no record of Duncan trying to contact anybody that had the green Jeep or anything like that.
Like, why do you not follow up on those leads?
I don't know, because to me it seems like it would put kind of the heat off of Buster. I mean, if they're looking for somebody in a green Jeep, of course, maybe they were known to have a green Jeep. I don't know. But when you're investigating something, it seems like you don't even know how this person, you're torn on how he was killed. You would be looking at every single lead, and there's different agencies still involved in this.
Yep.
So anyways, we're jumping to...
it's August 27th, right?
Yep.
So Duncan talks to the person named Ben, the one Sandy told him to contact over the phone. He worked at a Hardee's in Hampton, South Carolina, and went to school with Steven, but never hung out with him outside of school. He states a white man in his 30s or 40s came looking for Steven, and he called the police. A co-worker said the man came looking for Steven again. He said he had heard Steven was running in the woods from somebody. He thought it was an older guy Steven was messing with secretly, and Steven was going to out him.
Yeah, so apparently maybe somebody who was not out having a fling, and I guess he didn't want his name out there. So August 28th, Lance Corporal Conley interviews a man named Joe on Hilton Head after Stephen's mom found a day pass for a gated community with Joe's name on it. He was an older man, recently divorced, and he admits to meeting Stephen online, but he says there was no money exchanged and he doesn't do this kind of thing very often. They hooked up on June 28th, but it was kind of a one-time thing. Joe had texted Stephen a few times after their meeting, but was unaware Stephen had died until Sandy reached out to him to let him know. This was the last time that the Highway Patrol talked to Joe and never asked his whereabouts on July 8th either.
Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, no, it don't.
It's being sarcastic. So September 1st, South Carolina HP Proctor interviews a man they call Kevin via telephone. Proctor mentions she said rumor and asked him to tell what he knows.
Sorry, I butchered that sentence.
He said, she said.
Yeah.
He said, she said.
Kevin said he heard that weekend that certain young men were riding down Highway 601 and saw Stephen broke down on the side of the road. Because we did see the gas cap off. Now, I don't know if that's how it really was. I wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of staged. But they turned back around and stuck something out of the window, and it hit Stephen. Now, to me, this makes the most sense right now.
Yeah.
So Kevin tells Proctor that he will help him any way possible. He's heard 3 names associated with Stephen's death, but he doesn't really want to say the names over the phone. And he asks if they can meet in person. And again, he says he would love to help any way he can.
So Kevin says he is torn about all this because he hates he said, she said stuff aspect of it. But when he thinks about the situation, it makes sense and would be good to look into.
Yeah.
Proctor tells Kevin he understands his hesitation to say names, but says his office is out of Charleston and there's no name in Hampton that worries him, and he wants Kevin to feel at ease in telling him.
Yep.
Proctor tells Kevin that he's aware that people associated with this name have been threatening people to keep their mouth shut. There we go.
Yep.
Kevin says he knew the person, went to school with him, and says what he heard makes sense to him, but he doesn't like throwing accusations out there. And then Kevin says he gets that Proctor is based in Charleston, but he would rather talk in person anyway, so they make plans to meet the following morning.
So on September 2nd, 2015, the summary from the crime scene investigation is issued by James Talon. SLED sent crime scene photos to investigator Perry Singleton of Hampton County Sheriff's Office and the coroner, Ernie Washington. Proctor meets up with Kevin that same morning, and Kevin says at first he heard that Stephen was shot, but then he had heard that it was a hit and run. And he kind of tells the story again of the 3 people driving down the 601, seeing Stephen, and he said messing with him, hitting him with something from the car. And I think this may be an interesting scenario because it might not have been kind of a, hey, let's go find Stephen and kill him. But if they see him walking on the road and if, there's reason to not like Stephen, maybe they did stick something out of the car and it just went too far.
Yeah.
And like I said, it looked like he was just placed in the street. But Kevin says he heard it was Buster Murdoch who hit Stephen. And he said this was out of character for Buster, but he said the person told him that Buster was on drugs that night. So Kevin feels bad that it's only hearsay, but whether it is or isn't, somebody's lost a child, a brother, and a family member, and it's just not right. So Kevin says he heard this from someone they call Jack, who I think is the same person who texted Brittany asking if Buster and Stephen were an item at the very beginning of the episode.
Uh-oh.
So Kevin says Jack told him that Buster and a man they call Trevor tried to sell him cocaine at a party at the hunting lodge, which is where Paul and Maggie were found murdered. And then he said Trevor had just recently moved to Oklahoma, which kind of struck him as odd. And he saw the move on Trevor's Facebook page. And he said Trevor was very much into drugs and said it kind of fits the mold to think Kevin was in the car the night Stephen was killed. So I kind of guess maybe they were hanging out together a good bit.
Yeah.
So Kevin tells Proctor who was responsible for this rumor and doesn't understand why investigators haven't gone to this person who is the source of this whole rumor. And he said he heard that Buster and the others were in the car coming back from a baseball game. And Proctor asked if he heard that Buster was driving, and Kevin thought so. He said that Buster used to drive a Suburban and would sometimes drive a black truck. He didn't know who else was in the car.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's such a web. It's such a web. And I mean, rumor is rumor, but at the same time, I think the big thing to take away from all this is that SLED took over from the Highway Patrol after the murders based on information found during that murder investigation. So it has to tie to Buster or somebody in that family because, well, I mean, we don't know for sure, but they found something. And I would think that something would have come from some electronics somewhere.
Oh, yeah. It's a big trail.
Yep.
Always leaves a big trail. So where were we?
So he says the only name he was told was Murdoch, but that people are too shy to say anything because he says, I don't want to say power, but the name brings a certain standard with it. And he thinks that's why many people just aren't talking about it.
That's scary.
Yeah.
He said he was heard they have gone to certain people and told them to hush. Kevin said at a party, 3 people were talking about Stephen's death, and the one person said nothing will come of it. And that's when the name Murdoch was brought up. He says he thought they wouldn't want their reputation ruined.
Right.
Dude, when you can't even mention the name.
I mean, it's like Voldemort. Don't say his name.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. Harry Potter.
Sheesh.
He who must not be named.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you think about it, these people could probably have something planted on you and you go to the pokey for a very long time.
Yeah.
They've got the means and the people in the pull. I guess I'd be a
Exactly.
little scared too.
Yeah. So Kevin says he has been to South Carolina Gamecock football games with the Murdochs and says he hates to throw names out there, but right is right and wrong is wrong.
Yep. And he also says it's a situation where you grow up and your family's really high profile and you get away with things because of your name. You're invincible, kind of in a way. But when you get a little liquor in you, you become comfortable. And he thinks it happened and they freaked out and it's a cover up. But Stephen's family deserves to know the truth. And I do think that scenario right there really makes the most sense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't see a bunch of druggies, and then you've got Buster who, according to this guy, is taking drugs. But from a very prominent family, I don't see them premeditating a murder.
No.
Just a gut feeling. Like you
Yeah.
said, maybe something happened. They didn't mean to kill him, and then they covered it. So
Yeah.
Proctor tells Kevin that Buster was on their radar long before this, and the Murdochs know that Buster is on their radar, and that what he's telling them is very valuable information. I don't know if he's lying here.
Yeah.
But when talking about Moselle, which is the hunting property where Paul and Maggie were found murdered, he said they have big parties every weekend, every other weekend, including kids from Varnville and Bamberg, people from anywhere you could think of, and that Moselle was the party spot in Hampton. And he says he's been to a party there before, but the parties are known for a lot of fights with alcohol and drugs thrown in there. So
Wow. Yeah, those don't mix.
those never end well.
No. So Kevin says when he first heard about Stephen's death that he thought it was Paul they were talking about. He says, I don't want to say troublemaker, but more of my last name is Murdoch. I can do whatever.
Yeah, and we knew a few of those kids growing up.
Oh, yeah.
So Proctor asks about Paul's age, wondering if at this time, if he's 15 or 16, and Kevin says Paul is either a junior or senior in high school, and he had a nickname, which was Little Paul. He was very short compared to his dad and his brother, and even his mom. So I guess that's how I got that. And Kevin tells of his hesitation to name names, saying, I'm not scared of those people, but I don't want them knowing I had anything to do with this. He says just because Hampton's a very small town and people find things out.
Yeah. Yep. He says he can't say anything because they were nothing but nice. And again, he says he hates to say anything bad towards them. But he can't help it if it's truth. And your name can only carry you so far.
Yeah. So when he's talking about Stephen's death, he said he understands that they didn't go out seeking to kill him. It just happened, and he said he felt strongly about that. But Proctor tells Kevin that typically you don't see Highway Patrol working a murder, and that's what it is. He said they're not classifying Stephen's death as anything but a murder. And Proctor also says there's a reason the Hampton County Sheriff's Office is not handling this, and he says, I'll leave it at that.
Ooh.
So just to finish this up, Kevin says someone at work told him that Highway Patrol was looking for the Murdoch kid.
Wow.
And Proctor says, I'm not saying the Murdoch boy did it because I don't know yet, but if we're going to start throwing names out, I'm not going to withhold his name because of who he is. You go, Proctor.
Yeah.
His name is going to be out there just like anybody else's name that's on my radar, and I don't care who knows it. Boom.
Ooh. Drop the mic, walk away. Sheesh.
So, you got this next one.
So Kevin says he hopes Buster didn't do it, but when you throw pieces of the puzzle together, it makes more sense than not.
Yeah.
It's like this is like Clue.
It is.
It's like
Yeah,
in the conservatory.
Colonel Mustard with the candlestick.
In the conservatory.
Yeah, we need to get like a Murdoch Clue game going.
For real.
So Proctor thinks that there had to be more than one person involved, and he says if Buster was driving, then someone else would be responsible for hitting Steven. He says if that's the case, it's not all on Buster, and there's more people involved. And Proctor tells Kevin he's the 9th person he's talked to regarding the rumor, but again, there's no record of him talking to anyone.
Wow.
So just it's very convoluted, a lot of he said, she said, but there seems to be a very common theme with this. And maybe they didn't call these people back because I think Proctor knew what was up.
Yeah, it's either that or I'm bad about that. I get a voicemail and I just forget to call people back.
Oh my gosh, I've gotten that way about texting and inboxes. I mean, yeah, I know. I feel you, Proctor.
So I'm sorry, I put a piece of ice in my mouth. I shouldn't have done that. I've got voicemail right now that I hadn't checked.
I got voicemail from 2019 I hadn't checked. I hope it's not like Publishers Clearinghouse.
Probably is. You won $1 million and you missed it.
That would be the one call I would definitely miss.
Yeah.
But that's kind of all. We just wanted to hop on and do this just because, like we said, it's a very busy week. We don't anticipate being able to put anything else out till maybe Sunday, Monday. So hope you guys have a good week. Fruit Loop, you are off and running first thing in the morning, and I probably won't see you till Thursday.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Well, I'll come help you at your house, though, if I have some time. It's kind of hard because my big kids start high school tomorrow. So
it's so scary.
I know. And then the next week, my youngest goes back to 5th grade, and then it's going to be really weird having an empty house all day.
I know, right?
It's going to be great.
Get some quiet time, naps in.
I'm going to do like the biggest happy dance next Monday when they're all 3 at school. Like you're going to see me dancing in my living room. No, I love my kids, but it is nice to have a few hours to just do what you need to do.
Oh, yeah.
So hope you guys have a good rest of your week. We will see you probably very late weekend, maybe Monday.
Yep. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.